listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Frederick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
I can do it on air. Boom, look at that.
Look at that.
We upgraded lights in the studio, so I've been messing around with them.
Nice. I got the natural sunlight here.
You got high quality artwork there behind you. Those are your photos,
these
right?
are some photos. Yeah, these are photos I took, just local places, and of course, one of our dogs.
All right, we're gonna go green for this one.
Nice. Well, usually September is the hottest month of the year for Hawaii.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's roasting right now. And I got the yurt that I'm often in when I record, but
it's just too hot.
Too hot right now. I wouldn't make it through an episode. So
I had no idea that was the hottest month. That's wild. I would just think it's fall like everywhere else. Huh.
Nah, the last half of August and all of September, it's blazing hot in Hawaii. So
wow.
I would say if you're gonna visit Hawaii ever, don't come in August or September.
Done.
You unless you love the heat, but it'll be blazing hot.
Good. I'm glad you told me. So.
Yeah, I actually sunburned. I don't know if you can tell right now, but my nose is like peeling and stuff. I was on Maui last weekend helping with relief efforts again. We handed out over 4,000 bottles of water, 10,000 pounds of food. We're doing some really good work. But anyways, you guys dropped in right into the middle of one of our conversations here. This is Proof Text. I'm Michael Halcomb, and here with J. M. Smith, the Sensei, the guy who runs the Disciple Dojo, does that Disciple Jiu-Jitsu, the grown-ups table, all kinds of really cool stuff. So this is Proof Text, and more specifically, this is an episode of 10 questions. So JM gets 5, I get 5. We're going to look at a specific bit of scripture, and we're going to ask 10 questions of it. No answers, just really observations and questions. So JM usually doesn't know what verses I'm going to throw at him, and he doesn't know this one. So you guys get to learn right along with him. Neither of us have looked at these, but at least I know which verses are coming. So here we go. We're going back to the Old Testament. We are in Proverbs. We're actually going to look at Proverbs 25 or 27:15. I'm going to pull the Hebrew text up here and then scroll back down through. So Proverbs 27:15. All right. And the NIV says, "A quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof in a rainstorm." We can add the next verse if we want. Restraining her is like restraining the wind or grasping oil with the hand. So we'll do both verses, 27:15 and 16. So we're in the Old Testament, we're in the Hebrew, so I believe kind of the rule of thumb is you lead off with the initial question.
All right. Let's see.
I didn't set you up or anything here, but
well, so here's the deal. I'm not married. I don't have a wife that's gonna get mad at me if I say the wrong thing. So you are
set
more.
myself up.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat on this one, buddy.
Oh, man.
My first question, and I'm looking at the Hebrew. In Hebrew, it's not. Proverbs is tricky. Proverbs is a hard book in Hebrew because Proverbs use tons of puns and figures of speech and wordplay. So My first question would be the first two words, Delef Torade. I think English translations translated as JPS has an endless dripping, King James a continual dropping. NIV moves it to the second verse or second line and says a constant dripping. So I would want to know that phrase, Delef Torade, like is that a common term? Like we might say raining cats and dogs, or something like, or Chinese water torture, like drip drip drip. Is that what this phrase connotes, like an annoyance, or does it connote like a continual downpour? Like a storm, if you will. So that's my first question.
Nice. I'm curious about the things dealing with the literary context here. I mean, is what we have here, did the author write it after just getting in a fight with the wife? Is he in a bad marriage? Is this just a general rule of thumb? What is the Sitzumleben, the life setting for this, and what is what is the context of what's being said? Because I could any guy could throw this his wife's direction and get a quick slap in the face. So what's going on here?
Okay,
I'll use that for the second question.
Okay.
No, go.
My next question, and this does not appear on Step Bible. I don't know which Hebrew text you have displayed on Step Bible, but there's a Kathib Kare issue with this word. I think your Step Bible has. Let me look at it. Which verse? Oh wait. Can you jump back to
just yes, 27, 15. Sorry, there we go. It would be right here.
Okay, so your Step Bible has Madonim, a wife Esheth Madonim. There's a Kathib Kare issue. So the Kathib, what is written, and Kare is what the Masoretic text says you're supposed to say. And it looks like the Kare reading, what you're supposed to say is Midyanim, not Madonim. And Midyanim, Midyan, I mean, that's Midian. That's the word for Midian, right. Midianite. So is that intentional? Like a Midianite wife? Because who married Midianite? There was a person who married Midian. I feel like I have to go back and look. I feel like somebody married Midianite wife, and then the family was like, or maybe I'm thinking of married Canaanite wife. I feel like it's like Esau or something.
Moses. It was Moses, right? Because he married Zipporah.
Yeah. And she was the daughter of the Midianite priest, and then Moses' sister complained about her and Aaron, and then God gave her leprosy. Yeah. So I mean, that could be nothing. This is all off the cuff, and I would have to go back and look. But I would want to know why the text, if there's any significance in the text saying Madonim or Midyanim. That's just kind of like a spidey sense tingling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm very interested in authorship. I don't have a solid view on. I mean, right off the cuff, anyways. I've actually written stuff on Proverbs, but it's been so long. I don't have a solid view on authorship of Proverbs. I need to go back and revisit it. So on the spot, I'm wondering, like, who wrote this? And I was like traditionally thought it's like Solomon, right? King Solomon, or is that wrong?
I mean, traditionally, Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Traditionally, Solomon.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
is this, again, it's kind of piggyback on my first question, like, if it's Solomon, for example, is it in a season where he's single? He has more than one wife? He's watching maybe his sons deal with their wives? Is it pre-marriage? Like, when is this written and by whom? Because it depends if you're a single guy watching from afar and writing this, or whether you're a married guy with numerous wives, or whether you're a married guy with one wife, or you're writing this just before you get married. Like, yeah, so it's super interesting to me. Who wrote this and when? That's my second question.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's no better expert in the Bible on foreign wives than Solomon, if that was. So yeah, that's a great question. I would want to spend some time with the Hebrew unpacking why that so the last verb. How does the NIV say it? Let's see. The NIV puts it in the first. A quarrelsome wife is like. So usually in Hebrew, when you have something like, it'll use, or I'm used to seeing just using the preposition ka stuck on a word, but this doesn't. This has a whole verb, nishtava, and so a quarreling wife, she is like, or no, actually, I'm looking at it. That's third masculine singular. It is like, or he is like. Why does that? Is that a masculine singular, or is that feminine and accordance just has it glossed wrong? Yeah, I've got questions about that last verb. Nishtava. Why is this not a simple comparison? Why didn't it use?
Yeah, it's weird because you have the
What does
strife there.
What does Step Bible have it parsed as? Nishtava, the last word.
Yeah, it has it a third perfective nithpail perfective third singular masculine.
Yeah, masculine. So he or it is like, and you would expect a quarrelsome wife, you'd expect she is like, if it were talking about an actual woman or an actual wife. I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule in Hebrew. There are times where Hebrew does use different than expected genders, but that does catch my attention.
But middle name is masculine as well, but it's plural, not singular. So, and then sagrir can be either masculine or feminine, singular. That's kind of interesting. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, then in the next we have restraining her is like restraining the wind or grasping oil with the hand. Oh my gosh. And then we get that next verse. I'm just going to read it. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Dude, we should have just done that one because I've never in my life, like 20 plus years of being a Christian, like getting a PhD in biblical studies, I've never ever realized until just this very moment that this as iron sharpens iron, that phrase has all this stuff about a quarrelsome wife right before it. So there's my question. How in the world is that the quarrelsome wife related to the iron sharpens iron? And I hope you don't steal my next question, but I got another one that's related to that.
Well,
wow, I'm like jaw dropped right now.
Well, I will not ask. I won't touch verse 17.
Okay.
Yet, I would have a question about that because that's a very interesting verse in terms of translation. But I want to go back to so in verse 16, the verb sophaneha, I would want to know, how's that translated in NIV? Does that say?
Yeah, it says restraining.
Restrain. Okay. That verb means to hide or to keep or to save
treasury.
up, to conceal or lie in wait. I'm not seeing, I'm scrolling through Hallett. I'm not seeing restrain as a gloss. Hallett has it glossed as to shelter. So, yeah, I would want to know. And JPS has repress. So I'm curious about where they're getting that sense for the verb, for Safan. And restraining her, there's just, I would, so what I would do, I mean, I'm sure some listeners are like, this is so boring, I don't know Hebrew. I would want to make the most woodenly literal translation of this possible first, and see if I can figure out what's going on there, and then try to work out, okay, now how did the NIV or the JPS or whatever, how did they get there from that? Because there's a lot of times in Hebrew where, especially in Hebrew poetry, where it's not easy to tell how they got there, and there's a lot of conjecture involved. So that's yeah. That's my third question, I guess.
My fourth question is, and it's related to all three of these verses. If I don't even know if they're all related, I'd need to, but they're right next to each other. So 15, 16, 17. Since we've started this episode, this one's been sitting here with me. But then I look at the iron sharpens iron, which is typically taken as positive. And then I look at Safan, which actually can be rendered to treasure. Is this actually negative? Like, are we really talking about a quarrelsome wife? And if we are talking about a quarrelsome wife, is it negative? Or rather, is what we're looking at something positive? I don't know. I'm literally just, it's something I'm throwing out there. Could the woman of strife just be a woman who's been through a lot, and so she has a lot of life experience? Or is she someone who's causing strife? Or if she's quarrelsome, if that is the sense, is it that she's quarrelsome with the husband, or like she's quarreling with other people and got the husband's back? I don't know. I'm being maybe anachronistic. I don't know. But, and then I'm in 27:16, like, could it be that treasuring her is like treasuring the wind, because we get that safan, the double safan there, and then iron sharpens iron, so they make one another better? Is this positive rather than negative? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I would. My question would follow up on that in 16 is Vashimin Yomino, so, and oil of his right hand, and oil his right hand, or if it's construct, and oil of his right hand, he calls, or he will call. That's the usual sense of kara. This has this glossed as kara too, which can mean to meet or to encounter. So, and oil his right hand, it encounters or it will encounter. What is oil in the right hand? What is that figure? Because there's a lot of idioms that we may not know the exact nuance of. There's so many idioms in English. Like if we say something came out of left field and somebody doesn't know anything about baseball, they might miss that reference, that it just means out of unexpectedly. So I would want to know, is this an idiom? What does it mean to either, because the JPS, the Jewish translation, has verse 16, as soon repress her as repress the wind or declare one's right hand to be oil. That's how JPS renders it, which is very different than NIV or King James. So this whole section of Proverbs, there's a lot of translation questions. And I think if a reader or a listener, that doesn't know Hebrew, even just by comparing translations in English,
yes,
you can see that you can see where there's the disagreement on. Because there's a significant difference in how versions handle verse 16.
Wow. Yeah. We can put the JPS up there. Lexham. Let's just throw a couple up there. What was it 27:15? Yeah.
15, 16, and 17. Yeah, what we're looking at.
Yeah, you get a quarrelsome wife. It's like the dripping of a leaky roof. A continual dripping on a rainy day and a quarrelsome wife are alike. A continual dropping in a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike.
What does you have access to? Do you have LEB? You have the Lexham English Bible on Step Bible?
Put it
Is that
on
one of
there,
them?
but it doesn't have it. The Lexham English Bible doesn't show up. Doesn't translate this.
Huh, interesting. Because they're usually
a
pretty literal, like a kind of. I use Lexham English. I just don't have it in accordance, obviously, because they're competitors. So I'd be curious what LEB has in this section.
Yeah, super interesting, dude. And the Young's literal continual dropping in a day of rain and a woman of contentions are alike. And with that, the verse 16, it says, here's some of the different ones. ESV, or to grasp oil in one's right hand. JPS, yeah, and the ointment of his right hand betrays itself. YLT, and the ointment of his right hand calls out.
Yeah.
It almost brings to mind like anointing.
Well, yeah, because is shemen oil or is it perfume or is it ointment? Because it has all three of those meanings. Yeah.
When you
go ahead. Well, what I was going to say was this is part of technology. This is to me what Proverbs are exactly meant to be. Exactly. This is what you're supposed to do with Proverbs. They are meant to be teased out and pondered and thought about. And could it be this? Could it be this? Like that's exactly the genre of Proverbs. And translations that just give one translation, I think sometimes actually conceal what the interesting factor about the proverb is. Yeah, their Proverbs are hard to translate.
Like just looking at it off the cuff, I would be like, treasuring her is like treasuring the spirit, right? And and calling her the oil of the right hand, something like that. Like that's initially just like a fast look at it. Like none of that sounds negative. Like, but you have that ruach there, rather than restraining her is like restraining the wind, treasuring her is like treasuring the spirit or treasuring the wind. I don't know. So, yeah, super fascinating. My biggest question is what I said. Is this negative? It may be, but I'm just pausing to ask, might it not be?
Well, do I have one more question?
Yeah, we both do.
Okay, so my last question, I will jump to 17 and ask, Barzel, Babarzel. So iron against iron, together, Yachad, iron against iron united is kind of literally Va'ish, and a man united or together, Panei Rehu, the face of his neighbor or the face of his friend. So I don't see a verb for sharpen anywhere in verse 17.
Yeah.
I just see iron against iron together, and a man together, face of his friend. So unless I'm missing something, which is very well possible, I would want to know how did we get from that to as a man, as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens. I don't even know how it's translated differently in different translations as well. So one man sharpens another. So there's just so much in this this section, this collection of Proverbs that's not as straightforward as the traditional translations we're used to. And I want to know why. That's my final question.
Well, that Yahad, it is related to Chada and Chad and Chadud, which all have the idea of like sharp or point. And in the lexicon I'm looking at here on this,
it's being glossed. Yeah. So like I'm seeing it glossed as from Yachad, which is together. Chada. So if whatever lexicon you're using is suggesting it comes from Chada, then actually that would explain it. So yeah, which verb is it coming from?
Yeah. Huh. That's a great question. Wow. Yeah, so I guess I'm still just wondering how 17 can a quarrelsome wife or a woman of contention, a woman of strife, sharpen her husband? If Vaish here maybe means husband instead of just man in general, as iron sharpens iron, if it is sharpened, can we have one man sharpening his friend, that is his wife, or one husband sharpening his friend, his wife, or I don't know, like his neighbor, and it's either gender there, so we got the rea. So can he sharpen her? Can she sharpen him? Is this related to 16:17, as I said earlier? Is the husband sharpening the wife and the wife sharpening the husband? That's my last question. Or has that got not anything to do with this? Yeah. Wow, we went a long time on this on this section. I think it's one of our longest videos yet. But super fascinating, right? Like,
yeah.
And again, I'm just seeing stuff that I've never seen before. So, love when that happens. Well, thanks, y'all, for watching, for tuning in. Head to discipledojo.org and then youtube.com/discipledojo. Check out the grown-ups table, all things JM's involved in. Also, if you need another website to check out, go to Glow's House. Lots of killer stuff at Glow's House. And we are just releasing tons of resources right now. I mean, there's so much stuff coming down the pipeline. It's really fun. Lots of really good stuff.
Lots of stuff that would answer the kind of questions we're asking, because you guys have some great Hebrew resources.
Yeah. So, go check out glowshouse.com and like this, share it, subscribe, do what you got to do. But thanks for tuning in. Sincerely, we hope that helps.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glosshouse can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glosshouse offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glosshouse, language resources for the global community.